Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Liz Carter, and I am the email marketing manager here at Charity Digital, and I'm your host for today. And I would like to give you all a very warm welcome to today's session. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. It would be really good to know what organisation you are joining us from today. So just put your name down, say hi. If you want to even put a short paragraph about yourselves and your organisation, that would be absolutely great. Before we continue, I just wanted to do a very quick introduction to Charity Digital. As most of you will probably be aware, we are a registered UK charity, and our mission is to help other charities to increase their impact by being more digital. And today's session is called The Rise of AI in Charity Finance, and it is delivered by Grant Givers, who is the Senior Solutions Consultant for Non-for-Profits at Sage. I hope I've said your surname okay, Grant, but you will correct me if I haven't in a little bit. We will be covering, among other things, we'll be covering how AI can automate core finance tasks and reduce reporting time. We'll be looking at how to gain real-time visibility into financial performance to support strategic decisions. And we will be looking at how to future-proof the finance function with scalability, cloud native tools tailored for non-for-profits. Now, just before I hand over to Grant, I just want to share a few in-house rules and pointers for today's session. It is recorded, and we will be uploading this to watch on demand within a week's time. Any slides will be shared together with any resources, and we'll also make these available to you. So don't worry if you have missed anything in today's session and you haven't written it all down. Closed captions are available, and you can enable these in the bottom of the Zoom window. Just click on the little up arrow button next to the closed captions and then the show subtitles. Now, during the webinar, please ask loads of questions in the Q&A section, which is located on the Zoom menu bar. And then Grant will address these at the end of his presentation. If someone asks a question that resonates with you, you can upvote this and just click on the thumbs up icon, and this will push it up automatically to the top. And finally, if you do encounter any sound or image issues on your side, then please let us know in the chat, and we will do our very best to sort these out and to resolve any problems that we do have or may encounter. Generally we don't, but you never know. So, Grant, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you. I'm going to just switch my camera off and my mic as well. Thank you, Grant, and welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Liz. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's webinar on artificial intelligence. So whether you're a finance leader or someone that could be impacted by the rise of AI in modern finance, I hope the session will answer some of the questions that you may have on this topic and leave you more informed in how you might harness the power of AI to assist your finance team with some key financial processes. So as Liz mentioned, my name is Grant Givers. I'm a senior solutions consultant here on the Sage Intacct team. And I focus on non-profit and healthcare sectors. So what we're going to be covering today in terms of the agenda, the primary goal of today's webinar is to give you a clear understanding of AI's role in modern finance and to provide some practical steps on how finance leaders can support finance teams effectively through using AI. We will then explore the differences between generative and traditional AI tools. And we're going to spend the bulk of our time today discussing how AI is transforming finance and looking at some examples of that. And then to wrap up, I'll be leaving you with some essential steps for successfully implementing AI in your finance department. Okay, so before we get started with today's content, I wanted to just engage with you as an audience today, get an idea from all of you listening out there, how many of you are already making use of AI, specifically for finance. So the question is your finance team currently leveraging AI to support financial processes? So you should actually see that little pop-up on your screen at the moment. So I'll give you a moment or two just to put in your answers. So it is a straightforward yes or no question. I think despite being quite a broad brush question, I think it would be interesting for us to all find out the answer to this. So I'll just give you a little bit longer. Just wait for those answers to come up. Okay. So I always try and guess what the responses are going to be, and I was wildly off here, to be honest. So we've got those of you who answered yes is 9%, and those of you that answered no is a resounding 91%. So that's I was expecting it to be higher, but not as high as that, to be honest. But there's still work to be done in changing perceptions around AI, especially for finance, where there's simply no margin for errors. So I think that kind of proves that. All right, so making a start then. Artificial intelligence, as we all know, is a powerful tool transforming every industry in some way, whether that be directly or indirectly, and nonprofits are no exception. So according to our statistics, this is using information gathered from our Secrets of the Successful CFO report. 86% of finance leaders have already incorporated AI into their operations in some capacity. However, despite the high adoption rate of general AI, only 49% of finance leaders currently use AI solutions specifically designed for finance. And this gap highlights a significant opportunity for finance teams to improve their workflows using specialized AI tools, helping to drive efficiency and innovation. So AI can empower CFOs and finance teams to respond to changing expectations and positively reshape their roles. And now more than ever, finance leaders are being tasked with thinking more strategically. And AI, creates the bandwidth to make that possible. So AI's real value is in its ability to elevate finance professionals into future gazing and future shaping strategic advisors within the organization. And it does this by providing deeper insights, automating of repetitive tasks, and also enhancing accuracy. So if you think about your current operations and where AI can make an impact, it would be interesting to hear from you. If you want to put that into the chat, I'll be interested to have a look at some of those responses a little later on. But we are going to be looking at some of the areas where we here at Sage Intacct are already introducing AI. We'll have a look at some of the exciting areas that are going to be influenced by AI as well. And obviously with a focus on AI specifically designed for finance departments. So before we take a look at those processes, there needs to be a mind shift towards AI being used in finance. And I think we saw that, from the results of the poll that we had come through as well, because without trust, these tools will never be used. So we hear often that it doesn't matter how amazing a product is, if customers don't trust it, they simply will not use it, which couldn't be more true. And user adoption is key to the success of AI. So we've all heard stories of hallucinations with ChatGPT. So if you are not familiar with the term AI hallucinations, these are incorrect or misleading results given by AI when it's unable to contextualize answers with the large data models that it's dealing with. And finance leaders often ask, can I trust AI to be as precise as my team of trained accountants and analysts? And with this, certain finance decisions require more than just data. They require judgment, experience, and context. Yeah, if I just speak personally for a moment, I have been using AI for quite some time now to help with responding to RFPs. And initially, I felt that it was just making extra work for me because I was just having to adjust everything. But now, after using it for some time and starting to see how the AI tool has been learning from the responses that I had put in and also from the responses of the wider team, they have improved dramatically. I find myself trusting AI more and more as I review each of those answers and see some decent answers that's been populated by the AI. But this, trust is so important. And, with digital transformation only accelerating, as technology embeds itself deeper into the financial core, leaders are no longer just experimenting, but they're depending on digital tools for mission critical decisions. Also, trust is important because AI has a greater opportunity to do harm in this area. Finance is a field where precision matters enormously. A small error can lead to regulatory, financial, or reputational issues. And in finance, there simply is no margin for error. And society has also greater expectations now and is more sophisticated. Customers, regulators, employees, and funders are far more informed and discerning, and they expect transparency, fairness, and ethical behavior from organizations, especially when AI is involved. So trust isn't a nice to have in the era of AI, it is fundamental. Now, AI is not new to finance, but the way that we use it is evolving fast. And I mean, very fast. It's quite exciting to see that. To really understand its impact, it's helpful to look at the difference between traditional AI in finance and the newer wave of generative AI. So traditional finance AI has been around for years. It's built to analyze existing data to find patterns and support in decision making. So it's the engine behind things like fraud detection, the scanning transactions in real time, and flagging anomalies. And it powers automation like invoice matching or reconciliations, taking some of those repetitive tasks off of the finance team's plate. It's also improved customer service. So many of us have maybe interacted with chatbots that handle standard queries quickly and efficiently. And in short, traditional AI is about automation, analysis, and optimizing of established processes. Generative AI, on the other hand, is designed to create. So it can generate text, images, scenarios, and even financial forecasts. So this opens up new possibilities in finance, but it is still early days. So, for example, it could simulate different business scenarios to explore potential outcomes before making a decision. It can enhance forecasting by analyzing past performance and generating more detailed predictions. And it has the potential to personalize interactions for instance, maybe tailoring responses for reports for different stakeholders automatically. So generative AI is less about repetitive tasks and more about creativity, scenario planning, and insight generation. So why does this matter for finance? So versatile tools like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot are powerful, but finance has unique precision and regulatory demands. And that's why purpose-built AI tools specifically designed for finance are critical. So, both types of AI are important. The traditional AI brings efficiency and accuracy to day-to-day operations, while generative AI opens the door to new insights, strategies, and ways of working. So with that distinction in mind, let's explore some of the AI tools that we are developing here at Sage and how they are helping finance teams work smarter and more confidently. So Sage AI is built to help finance teams work faster, make smarter decisions, and feel more confident in the numbers that they rely on. So today we'll walk through how it delivers in these 4 key areas. So first up is the smoother, faster close. So we're going to spend more time here. I think it's really important, this month-end close process because, shortening the close cycle means more timely financial reports, leading to, improved decision making. So we're going to be looking at the close automation, which is now in phased launch. That takes the pain out of month end by tracking tasks, flagging issues, cutting down manual efforts, so that teams can close the books with confidence. Next is boosting efficiency and saving time. So we'll be spending a little bit less time on this area. I think everybody is quite familiar with AP automation, so we'll touch on it briefly. There's also tools to help with maybe tracking timesheets as an example, so we can use AI to streamline both the invoice and timesheet entry. That means less manual data entry and fewer errors and more time back to focus on those value added tasks. Then under the spotting opportunities and risks early, outlier detection, which is already available, highlights unusual entries in real time. And soon to be released is our cash prediction and optimization, which will help forecast short-term cash flow and liquidity, giving teams a clearer view of what's ahead. And finally, we'll look at getting instant answers. So, with search help, users can question in plain language and get conversational answers right away. So that's using the standard search as well as the soon-to-be released advanced search. So let's focus in on the smoother, faster close process. So in earlier webinars, I've highlighted how shortening the close cycle, delivers faster insights and reduces pressure on finance teams. But now with AI, we can push those efficiencies even further and take more of the pain out of month end. So what is close automation? So it's really about using AI to take the pain out of the month-end close. So instead of chasing down spreadsheets or digging through endless emails, everything is faster, connected, and a lot smarter. So why it matters? Right now, most finance teams are still closing the books manually, and we all know what that means. There's delays, errors, and plenty of stress. The close automation changes that. It makes the process structured and proactive, so that issues get flagged before they turn into problems. And the real benefit of using AI to help in this area is the time that is saved. So you save hours every month-end cycle thanks to automated reconciliations, real-time task tracking, and you can also catch problems sooner because continuous variance analysis is always running in the background. And I'll be touching on some of these tools as we progress. And maybe just as important, your team stays in sync with shared checklists, dashboards, and collaboration, which is built into this process. So month end doesn't have to be a dreaded headache anymore. Instead, it becomes a streamlined and collaborative process that the whole team can feel more confident about. So as part of the smoother, faster close process, I want to introduce to you our Copilot variance analysis function. Now, Sage Copilot, just to let you know, is not Microsoft Copilot. I'm not sure why we ended up with the same name. It is our own AI assistant called Sage Copilot. But the Copilot variance analysis function, this is there to help customers with that review process, which is often a bottleneck with finalizing and publishing the financial reports. So does this by comparing budgeted amounts with actuals or analyzing the current versus prior period actuals. Controllers and CFOs can quickly spot accounting errors and significant variances. And traditionally, this process takes hours of manual effort, generating reports and notifying budget owners, waiting for investigations to take place, and then identifying corrective actions. But with Copilot variance analysis, this is transformed. So it offers instant access to insights for controllers, department managers, and location managers, automatically alerting budget owners when variances arise. So with this real-time visibility, budget owners can check their spending anytime, make informed adjustments, and work proactively with the finance team to address any issues. So let's take a look at a little example of that. So you should be able to see up on the screen here. Most finance systems will be able to send a notification of some description to say you've gone over budget. But where this differs is that, as you'll see now, this is going to give you all of the information to explain why you've gone over budget. So you don't need to do all of that groundwork yourself. So here you can see we've received a notification from Sage Copilot. So I can click on that. That's going to take me into the system where I can see the Copilot notifications area. And this is insights that have been generated by Copilot, which is listening in the background. So I can click on those insights. And here it's saying departments have exceeded the financial year-to-date budgets. So if I want to go and view that, I just click on View the Insights. So it's showing which departments have gone over. I can see the variances for those two departments. But now what I can do is I can say, describe that variance to me. So for each of the departments, it's now giving a little description. So here it's saying services, billing, and administration departments, services, salaries, and wages was slightly under budget, but there was overspending around employee benefits and commissions. So it gives you a little description as to why you have gone over budget. If you want to then include prior period variance analysis, we can click on that, and that's going to pull in our prior year actuals here. If you want to drill through to that current year actuals, you can start to see the underlying transaction detail making up that balance. And if you would prefer to see a full income and expenditure across both of those departments, you can just say View Full Financial Report. And this is going to give you an income and expenditure across both of those departments. So just in a real world kind of example as to how AI is helping around this kind of variance analysis, such an important task for any finance department, especially around the month-end close process. So moving on, next under the smoother, faster close, the Copilot Close Assistant, really changes the way that teams handle month end. So instead of digging around and trying to find out what's happened, what's still outstanding, it gives you an at-a-glance view of all of your closed tasks across the core applications. So it makes it easy to see whether you where you are, with your subledgers and the general ledger. It pulls everything together into one clear summary view. And that means less time chasing information and more visibility into what's holding things up. And an easier way to kind of keep the whole team aligned as you move through the close process. So one really useful feature in the Close Assistant is that it automatically shows you if there is a variance between your general ledger and your subledger. So continuing along the theme of variance analysis, and normally subledger reconciliations can really slow things down at month end, but with the Copilot subledger reconciliation, we're using AI to do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. So it produces reconciliation reports, flags any variances, and even lets you drill down to quickly see what's causing those variances. So instead of spending hours on manual reporting, your team gets more visibility, saves time, and that helps to reduce errors. And you can spend that energy rather on more strategic work. So let's take a look at an example of that. So if we have a look here, we can go back into Copilot. You can see there's my Close Assistant that we were looking at a little bit earlier. But we're going to have a look at some insights that have been generated here by AI. It's telling me that there's a variance between the AP subledger and the GL. So if I go and view that, it's showing me for which company. There's my balance in the general ledger, there's my balance in the subledger, and the variance. So giving you some reasons to why there is variances normally, but I can drill through here into that number, and that's going to open up my variance report. So that's going to show me, the detail making up this number. So here it's flagged. This particular invoice is responsible for that variance. So you can drill through into that invoice and maybe look at what's causing that problem. And you can see here we've almost keyed this directly to the control account. Just a little example as to why or how we can pick up any of those anomalies which cause imbalances. All right, so let's take a quick look at what's coming soon. So with the close workspace that you can see up here on the screen, we're setting the stage for more structured and reliable and a more of a proactive close process. So the big focus here is consistency. So every accounting team can get aligned around a repeatable checklist-driven workflow. You'll be able to build and reuse templates that match your processes. Whether that's across companies or locations. That for if you're a non-profit that has shops or homes, etc. Those can be set up as different dimensions. Now, real-time checklists mean that every task is assigned. So it's tracked and signed off so that there's no second guessing who's doing what. So, plus smart notifications highlight critical tasks and bottlenecks early so that you spend less time chasing people and more time keeping things on track. So in short, this will help your finance team move from reactive firefighting to more of a proactive oversight, making month end feel less chaotic and a lot more controlled. So closing the books usually means juggling spreadsheets and chasing updates, putting out fires as they pop up. But with the closed workspace, that changes by giving you one central place to manage the entire process. So this is all where we're capturing all of that information and feedback that is coming from AI, which is overseeing this month-end close process. So it brings structure and visibility so that you can spot those risks early, keep everybody aligned, and move through that close without any surprises. So from a single dashboard here, you can quickly see any blockers or delays, with clear visual indicators, communicate, right inside tasks themselves, so no endless email chains, and also assign owners. So you can set deadlines, manage dependencies to make sure that everything stays on schedule. And the result is that everyone involved in the close has clear expectations, better visibility, and there's fewer surprises. So that means a lot less stress during the month-end close, there's stronger accountability, and a smoother experience for the whole finance team. Okay, so moving on to the next area, and that is around boosting efficiency and saving time. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to spend most of the time focused on that first area around the month-end close process, but all of these contribute to the month-end close cycle in some way. So taking a closer look at our AP automation functionality, most finance systems now, it's expected for them to be able to do this function as standard. And using the AP automation driven by AI here means that it goes a lot further than traditional OCR. So the traditional OCR was still very manual, but with AP automation driven by AI, AI powers the matching. It automatically captures invoice details and matches them to POs, delivering faster and more accurate results. For customers with non-traditional purchasing workflows, you can simply import your supplier invoices and the AI will auto-create it in purchasing. So this technology delivers superior data extraction and builds accurate trust models. So unlike traditional OCR, it doesn't just read documents, it predicts outcomes creating a clear point of differentiation. So our solution, it achieves up to 95% accuracy in supplier prediction within the first month of use. And with many users, this happens even quicker. And the more the system is used, the smarter it becomes. So with embedded machine learning, the system adapts continuously based on user input, corrections, and feedback, ensuring a personalized and ever improving experience. And a key feature is that the system here is trained every 24 hours using the posted documents. So Sage is deeply invested in advancing our kind of AP automation, and you'll see our capabilities expand in this area even further over time. Next is thinking about capturing information into the system. If you are an organization that needs to capture timesheets, you can also take the guesswork out of time tracking by automatically capturing work activities here from calendars, emails, and other data sources. So instead of relying on memory or manual entry, here the AI suggests accurate timesheets, ensuring that no billable hours are lost. So this AI-driven assistance does not only save employees time, but also boosts productivity, improves your compliance, and gives managers clearer visibility into project costs and resource allocation. So turning time tracking from a chore into a strategic advantage. Next is the ability to spot opportunities and problems early. So this is also a big value add when you are doing month-end close. So using GL or using AI here, the GL outlier detection is analyzing journal entries in real time against historic patterns and expected behavior. So instead of simply checking for formatting errors, the system applies machine learning to flag unusual amounts, unusual coding combinations or dimensions that fall outside of the norm. And each flagged entry comes with a clear indicator and explanation so that finance teams know exactly why it looks suspicious. And when an outlier is detected, the system routes that back to the submitter through the outlier assistant, then giving them the chance to confirm or correct the entry before it reaches an approver. So as you can see on the screen here, we've got this outlier column. Now we've got a payroll journal that's been imported here. The AI has picked up an anomaly with that. To view that anomaly, we can open that up. And when we hover over that amount, it's saying that this is an unusual amount. And if I were then to approve that, the system will learn from that. So you can think of GL outlier detection as an AI-powered safety net for your general ledger. So just like airport security scans bags before they go on the plane, it scans every journal before it hits your books. And then anything unusual is flagged and sent back for review so that only clean and trusted data makes it through. Then our final kind of area that we're going to focus in on is getting instant answers. So here, use the search help. The search help is also augmented by AI, which allows you to interact in a conversational manner with the help function, and that gives you nice, easy to read answers and insights using plain language. Now, the Sage Copilot that we've been looking at today is our intelligent finance-focused AI assistant, built to kind of streamline everyday work within finance teams. So unlike general purpose AI, it's embedded directly into finance or financial workflows, automating tasks, surfacing insights, and guiding smarter decisions in a secure and trusted way. So with features like workflow automation and cost-saving recommendations and real-time support, Sage Copilot, it helps finance teams boost efficiency, making better decisions, and gaining faster and more reliable insights. So Search with Copilot is designed to help you find information within the Help Center. So this is using natural language understanding. So Copilot comprehends the nuances of Sage Intacct terminology and can interpret complex queries. So it also provides intelligent suggestions for related topics and articles to expand your knowledge. And additionally, it can significantly reduce search time and the need to, for multiple searches by quickly delivering more relevant results. So our new AI-powered search transforms how you find help and answers within Sage Intacct, delivering more relevant results. So to give you a little example of that, if I just go back into the search help, you can see that that's going to come up with the search help, where you can start to type in your questions over here. You can see that it's come up with popular questions that have been asked. So you can even click on one of those, which will populate that into the chat and send that through. And that is then going to be processed by Copilot. And you'll see it just takes a moment. And then what it will do is it will give you kind of step-by-step guide on how to mark an invoice as paid in this example. And if you scroll down, it will also give you links to other related areas as well. So this little example of how AI is helping to transform that help function within finance systems. So to summarize, we've been looking at how AI can bring intelligence and automation into your accounting processes by reducing manual work, improving accuracy, and providing some real-time insights. So you can see each of the steps here through the close process. At the top, we've got record. So you can use AI to help with recording information like maybe those purchase invoices coming in through AP automation, timesheets through Sage Intelligent Time, or I haven't mentioned it here, but you also got the API. We can pull in information from other areas. Then use the AI to help with the reconciliation processes, so to pick up any of those variances against budgets, against subledgers, to help with the review of that information, and all of that is delivered to the closed workspace, where you can keep track of where you are within that closed process, and finally then drive the month-end reporting as a result. So I'd like to summarize and highlight some of the key benefits of our AI tool, for CFOs and finance teams. The power of specialized AI finance tools is a huge benefit for finance teams, and we think you should start to think about how you will use AI to automate financial processes, improve financial forecasting, and maybe even enhance fraud detection. So the benefits your finance team can expect to see, you can see summarized here on this slide, which will also be available for you all to have a copy of as well. Now that we've seen how AI is reshaping finance leadership, here are 10 essential steps for implementing AI. So first of all is to define the pain point. So maybe hone in and single in on a specific financial challenge that AI can resolve. So maybe if you've got any AP inefficiencies, for example, maybe look at using an AP automation tool that is driven by AI to help speed up that process. The second point is to understand the available tools. So here, you've got to put your research in, have a look at some of the tools available. If you are already using a finance platform, see if that finance platform offers anything in this area. Number three, and I think this is a very important point, is to set realistic expectations. So, AI is there to support finance teams, not to replace human expertise. So there always needs to be that human oversight into any of the responses that is given by AI. Number four is to start with single solution tools. So, pick up AI that maybe solves one clear problem first, like I mentioned with the AP automation. Number five is to improve collaboration. So whichever tool you do choose, just make sure that it allows you to connect as a finance function with other departments and teams across the organization to enhance that cross-department communication. Then in point six here is to work with IT and legal, or if you don't have an IT or legal team, you'll be pleased to know that using tools like Sage Intacct, it already complies with GDPR and PCI DSS, which I covered off in the beginning of the presentation. Trust over here is extremely important when using AI, especially for finance. So point seven is to track and fix issues. So maybe have a framework in place to be able to monitor and resolve any problems that arise using AI. Number eight is to share the results often. So communicate those wins and efficiencies across the whole team, and communicate those savings from automation. And number nine is to start small. So build confidence with a proof of concept, maybe run a pilot in one department before then looking to scale that to the rest of the organization. And number 10 follows on from number 9, and that is once you've kind of started small, you can start to expand for impact and introduce that to the wider organization. Okay, so that kind of brings me to the end of everything that I was going to take you through today. And we've got some time now, I think, for some questions from the audience.
Great. Thank you so much, Grant, for that presentation. That's really brilliant. Thank you for that. We've got a comment from Peter, and also on the back of that, I just want to hook in a question as well. And Peter said that this webinar does not seem relevant to the users of software other than Sage. So we know that your last slide obviously went through 10 tips of implementing and how you can go about implementing AI. Would there be any other recommendations that you can give us on how to get started with AI if you're not already using it in your software?
Yes, of course, and there is always, try to keep these sessions as generic as possible, but I'm kind of embedded in the Sage company, so that's kind of where I tend to focus on. But if you are looking to roll out AI, one of the key areas we always hear that you need to kind of start with is the data. So cleansing the data, and that is a very important area if you're going to use any AI. AI is only as good as the data that it is reliant on. So it's very important to be able to continue to feed it data, and going from the example that I shared a little bit earlier, using AI to answer responses for RFPs. As you may not realize accurate responses early on, but as you continue to use the AI tool and train the AI tool, you will see that accuracy and that improve.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much, Grant. If anyone else has any feedback on that or a question following that, then please put it in the Q&A and also in our chat as well if you want to. Now, Michael did ask a question in the chat that was answered, but I just wanted to clear it with you as well. So Michael says we use Sage Intacct. In Sage Copilot automatically, is Sage Copilot automatically now part of the package, or do you need to activate it?
It is available, I think, for everyone. You may need to raise a ticket to have that activated in your instance of Intacct. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. We have a question too from another Peter. Of all the examples you have illustrated, what is the easiest in terms of deployment and what provides the biggest payback?
Well, focusing on kind of the non-profit and the healthcare space, I think the AP automation is such a big area where most of the companies we speak to are looking to introduce efficiency, because there's a lot of manual work taking place. Even you don't have to use Sage Intacct for that. There are various AP automation tools available on the market that will work with any system, and you can use that use AI, and that is, I think, one of the biggest value adds, for most of the customers and that we speak to.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Grant. We have a question from Nicola, who has said that she uses Xero. So unfortunately, obviously what you shared was relevant to Sage Systems and not very relevant to them. So Nicola would like to know, you do have any suggestions or advice for other charities not subscribe to Sage? Are there other software providers, i.e. Xero, working along similar lines that incorporate AI? That's the first question, and then I'll ask the second one and the third.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, there will be. So like every software provider, there will be like a marketplace of partners that they will work together with. And Xero will not. I know, because we speak to a lot of customers of Xero, and there is a large marketplace, I think, with Xero. So if you get in touch with them directly, they will be able to suggest partners that they work with that will be able to help with introducing AI. And I think, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on, AP automation is one of those that have been more established already within the markets. And so that's something that you don't have currently. That is something that you could look at. Other functions within finance, I couldn't comment on, to be honest, around Xero, because I'm just kind of, I'm not sure where they are within their rollout of AI.
Okay, thank you. And the second question that Nicola has asked is, are there other ways of using AI in charity finance other than through accounting software?
Yes, and I think, I mean, I use the ChatGPT quite a lot, and it's so helpful just to be able to, if you're putting together documents and that, putting together lists, you can just dump large amounts of data in and just ask it to put it together in a nice structured way. So, there is definitely value that can be realized using tools like ChatGPT for finance. Obviously, it's going to help you. You're still going to need to validate all of the information that is given by the AI, but it definitely is a big time saver, and it can definitely add a lot of value.
Yeah, so Nicola has sort of said an example here, a task which we can probably all relate to. A task completing the charity commission return requires a lot of manual extraction of data. Probably ChatGPT wouldn't be the best tool for that, but would you know of any other AI tool that would help?
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're speaking of the SOFA report here. There will be other reports as part of the SORP document that I'm not sure.
Yeah, Nicole has given another example as well, restricted grant management and reporting, for example.
Okay. Yeah, so it all depends on your software provider as well. I know we at Intact already have the SOFA report embedded for our nonprofit customers. So maybe check with Xero if there isn't something already available to give you that SOFA report. Um, Otherwise, other than that, I couldn't recommend any other kind of AI tool that could help with that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for answering that.
No
Um,
problem.
we've come to the end of the questions. Are there any more questions from anyone else before I give my ending blurb to everyone before the session finishes? Speak now or forever hold your peace. You can put it in the chat or in the questions there. No? Okay. So, Grant, thank you so much. We have come to the end of the time. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your
Mhm.
presentation. Thank you to all of those that have attended as well. We are on a related note, we are running a training session in our Charity Digital Academy on the practical uses of AI for your charity on the 23rd of September. And we will pop a link in the chat for that. There we go. It's just come up. Thank you. And finally, please share your feedback with us. It's so important that we hear back from you. It helps us to better, obviously, the webinars that we're providing to you. It helps Grant to have feedback as well on his session. And also, you will be entered into a prize draw. So please take a second to share your thoughts with us. That would be amazing. And I just want to say a final thank you to everybody and to Grant.
Thank you.
Thank you.